Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, May 27th, 2019. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. There are many approaches which must be taken to encourage people to return to responsible behavior, which will help to build resilience against climate change. This was stated during a panel discussion held here last Thursday as representatives from the Sustainable Development Unit, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, the National Emergency Management Organization, and NEMO discussed climate change and its impacts at the Methodist Church Hall. Head of Program Development and Management Unit at the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, Keith Nichols, said climate change always existed, and what is currently being experienced is accelerated climate change caused by increased emissions from human activities. He said in the past, citizens were responsible stewards of the environment, but due to the advent of the electronic age and other factors, this sense of responsibility has been lost. Nichols said, as such, work must be done to rekindle this sense of responsibility among the populace.
It's not just through the formal education system. Putting programs on TV and the radio and saying, you must do this, does not always work. We're talking down to people. Demonstration factor is key. There are many ways in which this can be approached, and I don't think I have all the answers here today. And possibly if I was in an exam and you'd ask a question, I'd probably fail the question, that exam. But there are numerous approaches that must be employed to ensure that we now adopt or regain the transformative, that responsible behavior that we once demonstrated many years ago. And there are many approaches to it, but the one thing we need to do is to create the enabling environment, find out what works with the various target groups. There's no one size, and someone said so, there's no one size fits all in this case. And each target community group has a different response modality, a different response mechanism, and the triggers to that response is different for each group. We need to be able to explore what those are, find out what works for each of our groups, but we need to create that enabling environment and invest in that environment in whatever form that is.
Speaking in relation to fostering behavioral change, which will lead to the building of resilience in the fisheries sector, was Dr. Susan Renton, who said it is important for persons in the sector to set an example for others to follow. She said it is also important to prepare the younger fisherfolk and new investors in the sector to be able to use the natural resources responsibly.
That we have to look to the change in our new investments, and I'll have to add our younger fisherfolk. So in every sector, and I think this will be a problem in all sectors, you're going to have to look for your champions who are going to lead the way, who are going to show the new way of doing business and set the example, and their successes will speak for themselves. With regard to the old dogs, some of them might be able to adapt, and if they cannot adapt, we may not be able to help everybody to adapt. But the new ones who are coming in, this is the point, the ones who are coming in now and the younger ones, we know what they are going to face. So we have to work with those and prepare them.
Meanwhile, Director of the Sustainable Development Unit, Janelle Miller-Finley, said much work has been done to sensitize the youth and others on issues relating to climate change and what they can do to minimize its impact. Finley said each person must play their part to minimize the impacts of climate change.
Department or an arm of government, it's a collective effort when it comes to climate change and addressing climate change. And if behavior doesn't change, there's nothing much that we can say or do if it doesn't start at the level of the person itself. Because at the end of the day, when a disaster strikes, you might want to blame NEMO to say, okay, they did not respond adequately, or the government to say, well, enough provisions weren't made, but at the end of the day, you're the one impacted. So if you as an individual do not see the need to take action, to make your life, protect your assets, protect your children, protect the elderly persons in your own family, if you don't see the need to at least put some effort into that, then it's going to be very difficult for us to even move forward in terms of building resilience. Because resilience is a comprehensive and all-inclusive action. It cannot be done in silo.
Leader of the opposition New Democratic Party, Dr. Godwin Friday, today reiterated a call for the nation's youth to get registered for a national identification card. Speaking on the NDP's New Times radio program, Dr. Friday said it is important for everyone at the voting age to get registered for the upcoming general elections. He said early registration helps to prevent many issues from arising during the voting process.
Go and get your ID fixed up, and particularly for young people, because some people say, oh, I want to vote yes, but election not due until a certain time. In our system, you could call election anytime. So when you become eligible, you're supposed to go and get it done within a month or so, but go and get it done as soon as possible. Sometimes you may have little problems with your birth paper, there's a discrepancy in the spelling of a name. Give yourself enough time so you can get those things rectified so that you can get your ID card. You need your ID card for more than just voting. You need it as well for many other practical reasons of providing identification for various reasons. But if you want to be, and you should want to be on the electoral list as an elector, as a voter, go and get it. Get the young people registered as quickly.
Speaking on issues relating to health, the opposition leader said people are productive when they are healthy and when their health needs are met, and highlighted some of his party's plans for a health insurance for all Vincentians.
A basic health care insurance in this country. I just had a conversation with somebody this morning, a family member who has a chronic illness, and will have to have certain types of medical services or materials, things that they will need for the rest of their life to be having to supply monthly. And there's no way that the family can do this indefinitely, and they have to go around begging and so on. You have basic health.
Dr. Friday said at the next sitting of Parliament, debate is expected on an amendment to the Misuse of Drugs Bill, which he looks forward to, noting that his party is clear on its position for the legislation of the herb.
They have other objectives. Yes, and that is something that we have to also address. That you can't just go on targeting individuals, particular types of people, and every Monday morning in court because they feel that they can be in possession of small quantities, but they have to come to pay a fine, and they can't pay the fine, and they wind up in court.
And the position basically would be that you were saying a total removal.
Well, at some point then we'd have to move towards the legalization. That's what the Commission recommends. And we have been in our discussion saying that the government basically ought to be moving towards that direction. But we will listen to hear what their debate is in the Parliament on Thursday, because they've been waffling back and forth. At one point, they had nothing to do with decriminalizing. They were saying, no, it's just simply the matter for the legalization of the medical marijuana, and the issue with respect to Rastafarians, special regime to govern religious purposes, and had nothing to do with decriminalizing, but we pushed them to that.
The European Development Fund continues to play an important role in the development of SVG, including the health sector, and Minister of Health Luke Brown will be leading a delegation to an important meeting in Suriname to ensure this good relationship continues. In an interview with SVG-TV News via the telephone, Minister Brown said the 10th EDF assisted greatly with the modernization of SVG's health sector. He used the opportunity to highlight some of the issues which will be discussed at the meeting in Suriname.
Trip to Suriname to represent the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, at a meeting which is geared at discussing issues surrounding the 11th EDF. This is a meeting of the Africa, Caribbean and Pacific group, and you would know that we access a lot of development financing under the EDF. The 10th EDF project was geared at the modernization of the health sector, and we see the dramatic results of that project before our eyes. And this meeting in Suriname will be geared at discussing practical issues related to the development finance of the future, and in particular as they relate to the 11th EDF, and also to reflect on projections for the post-2020 period. The the way in which funding and financing is accessed is likely to be reformed and adjusted and updated to fit our contemporary circumstances. And St. Vincent and Grenadines will be at the table so we understand the system and continue to be able to derive maximum benefits for the citizens of this country.
The health minister said he is confident SVG's participation in the meeting will have a positive impact on its relationship with the funding agency.
Understand the implications of the European development funding for us in St. Vincent and Grenadines. By just an assessment of what it has done for us before, there have been considerable benefits in the realm of health, as a case in point, as I had referenced before, and we're going to now have a discussion about the future of this particular program. And because of its importance to our general development, the government has seen it fit to be represented at the highest levels there. And there would also be some other officials from various ministries of government attending the meeting, and even private sector interests represented. So this is very important. It comes on the heels of my recent participation in the World Health Assembly and the representation of our country at that event. And I think that we're going to make great strides as a result of our participation in this meeting in Suriname, and have a better sense of how we might negotiate projects and activities that are ultimately in the interest of it.
Children nationwide are being taught ways of dealing with bullying in schools by the Police Drug Abuse Resistance and Education Program DARE, which, according to its coordinator, Juliana Charles, has been yielding positive results. With this month being observed as Child's Month, Superintendent Charles highlighted some of the initiatives under the DARE program, noting that bullying is an issue which can have a negative impact on children, and they have taken steps to deal with the issue.
DARE program is a bit more focused on now is bullying. DARE officers are encouraging bullying victims and bystanders to speak up rather than letting the bullying continue. We are not teaching students to physically stand up to the bully, but are instead telling them to go to an adult they can trust, seek help for themselves or someone else.
The Police DARE program has been in existence for more than 20 years, and according to Assistant Superintendent Charles, has had a positive impact on hundreds of the nation's youth. She hopes the trend will continue for years to come as they continue to address social ills head-on.
This not only allows children to combat bullying, but also helps them in learning who they can trust. Despite all the changes that the DARE program have experienced over the years, I have known that the program is effective in what it teaches. DARE is so much more than what we teach these children. It is about the relationship that these children make with their officers. They know that we are there for them, and we are going to continue to be for them no matter how old they got.
The DARE program recently collaborated with the Ministry of Education for a Child's Month March and Rally in observance of Child's Month 2019. A number of educators here will come together on Tuesday and Wednesday this week for an education forum to be held under the theme Education Leadership, Empower, Lead, Inspire. The two-day National Education Forum, which will be held at the Beachcombers Hotel, is organized by the Ministry of Education, National Reconciliation and Information. The forum will be held in conjunction with the School of Education, University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, and the OECS Education Development Management Unit, the EDMU, as part of the leadership and accountability component of the OECS Education Support Project, OESP, that is financed by the Global Partnership for Education. Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves will deliver the keynote address at tomorrow's opening ceremony. Other addresses will come from Minister of Education Sinclair Prince, Chief Education Officer Acting Elizabeth Walker, and Head of the OECS Education Development Management Unit, Cesara Simon. Presentations at the forum will be facilitated by Dr. Maurice Smith and Dr. Chantal Moore from the University of the West Indies, along with local facilitators that include Dr. George Bristol, former principal of the George Stevens Senior Secondary School. The practicum work of some of the 30 principals who participated in the 6-month UWI School Leadership online course will also be highlighted. The showcase of the practicum work is the culminating activity of the online course under the leadership and accountability component of the OECS Education Support Project. The 2-day event will run from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. daily. Newly installed Chairman of the National 9 Mornings Committee, Orandi Bomani Charles, has outlined several new initiatives that he plans to execute for this year's 9 Mornings Festival. Some of these new initiatives include the reintroduction of the caroling competition, as well as extending the 9 nights to more nights at the Botanical Gardens. In addition, the new chairman said he will be lobbying to have more commercial buildings in capital Kingston lit, including government buildings.
The concerts and other presentations will be held for the 9 nights, but I think we should offer the general public a few more nights to enjoy the lights at the Botanical Gardens. The lighting up of Kingston has been a challenge over the years. I've heard the former chairman's lamentations of little to no lights on commercial buildings. I was happy to see Jackson Enterprises leading the way last year with a spectacular display. Yes, Korea City Store, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Geku, the NIS building, and a few others carried the spirit of the season on the exterior of their buildings. We will push to get more government buildings displaying lights in Kingston and hopefully inspire other commercial properties to do the same. But we'll be paying visits to these properties as well, walking door to door to see how we can campaign to get them involved, and we ask you as members here today present to help us with that initiative.
Charles said the 9 Mornings Committee will also be seeking to involve more sporting disciplines to the activities, as well as improve on the entertainment aspect with more gospel music being featured. He said this year too, merchandising will be introduced at the airport and the cruise ship berth, and that the committee will be focusing on promoting the 9 Mornings Festival as a tourism product, and that they will seek additional financial support from government to carry out these new initiatives.
At the request of the Minister a few weeks ago, we have submitted a special marketing and promotion budget for consideration by Cabinet that will help us to extend our reach and keep 9 Mornings front of mind via the production of brochures, view cards, posters, vlogs, social media platforms, symbols such as the 9 Mornings Fall Cup at the Roundabout of Annisville, radio and television adverts, electronic and traditional billboards, short film and animation campaigns involving young people throughout the communities, all promoting the festival around the region and internationally.
Minister of Culture Cecil Sesmaki said reviewing and refreshing ideas and programs are necessary to improve and keep 9 Mornings alive in SVG.
Make a great effort at engaging the business sector, and we have done so through the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, but we need to strengthen our efforts at engaging them. We need to ensure that the government is more involved in the process. We need to engage in a stronger way, invest SVG, so that we can see what more we can get in terms of value out of that relationship. Year after year, we speak about engaging VINLEC in a more meaningful way. We have done so, but this year I suspect that the opportunity will be provided to engage them even more in the process.
Last year, 52 communities participated in the National 9 Mornings. Charles replaces former chairman Michael Peters, who dedicated 30 years of his life to building the 9 Mornings Festival. Peters is expected to serve as advisor to the new 8-member National 9 Mornings Committee. Panorama 2019 was launched on Sunday at an event dubbed Pan on the Horizon at Float Restaurant and Bar at Blue Lagoon. The crowd was entertained by 6 of the top steel orchestras in the country which will be competing for the Panorama title for Vincy Mas 2019. Here is a snippet of some of the performances at Sunday's launching event. Next up for PAN is the 2019 Junior Panorama competition, which will be held on June 30th, and the Senior Panorama on July 4th.